Hey guys, Kaz here, and today I'm going to be talking about all the things I read in August. So, if you were here last month, you would remember that in July I read two things because I was in the slumps. In fact, my last wrap up was June and July together because I read nothing. But August, I finally got out of the slumps. I read 13 things, not going to lie, a lot of them were comics. But yes, it's nice to be away from the slumps, to feel like I can read and I'm actually enjoying it. And it's not a slog. So, winner. First of all, the first thing I read in August was The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. This is the last book in the Trials of Apollo series. Fun fact, I started this series years ago. I read like the first three and then forgot that it existed. I knew it existed, but in my mind I was like, oh yeah, it's a trilogy, like the Magnus Chase books. It's not a trilogy, it's got 5 books in it. And then I think maybe last year I read number 4, I finally remembered that it was a thing. I was like, oh shit, I should probably finish that series. And now, finally have. I read this on my library app. And yeah, it was a nice way to round off the series. It's exactly what you expect from a Rick Riordan book. It has the fun characters, it has the gods, it has the wacky baddies that are sometimes funny and sometimes scary, and it's just quintessentially Rick Riordan. And I enjoyed it, which is good, because I feel like I read a few Rick Riordan's books recently that weren't as good as the rest of them that I'd read. For example, I read The Sun and the Star a couple of months ago, and I thought that that was just didn't hit as well as other Rick Riordan books. And I also read The Daughter of the Deep, I want to say, which is a standalone, which I enjoyed, but also not as much as most of his other books. But yeah, this one definitely fits in camp enjoyment, camp quintessential Rick Riordan. It's about Apollo. Obviously I can't tell you much about the 5th book, but this series is about Apollo, who has been cast to Earth as a mortal because of reasons, because Zeus likes to mess people over, and you know what the gods are like, they do what they want. And then he has to go on a quest and figure stuff out and do things and not die. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. Glad I finally finished the series though. The next big stack of books you would have heard about if you watched my reading the first volume of comics vlog, whatever it's called. I'm not going to go into these crazy a lot because there are quite a few, and because I read them in a vlog and talked about them and explained stuff. So yeah, we'll go through them quickly though, but also go watch that video if you want to know more. And also go watch that video if you want to see how crazy cheap these were, because I got these all off Sci-Fi second hand, and like it's insane how cheap they were. But anyway, the first one I read was Pretty Deadly Volume 1 by DeConnick, Rios, Bella and Cowles. This one I really enjoyed. It's really hard to explain actually. It's a really heavy one, like you have to proper be reading it, if that makes sense. Sometimes you can read comics and graphic novels and like you're reading it but you don't have to put all of your like thought process in, but this is definitely an all of your thought process. Look at every single panel, read all the words very specifically, because it takes a while to like figure out what the fuck is going on in a good way. I really enjoyed this one though. It is a Western fantasy, yeah, it's really good. I can't really explain it though. And this is the sort of artwork. After that I read Graveyard Wars by Lieberman, Kwan and Rowlings. This one is about people that can take the graveyard dust, not dust, I've got the word sand in my head, that's not wrong, soil. They can take the soil of a grave and then get the attributes of the person that is in that grave. So there you go. And then stuff's happening and there's like secrets. And this is the sort of colour palette here. It just changed slightly. It's mostly all this colour, and then sometimes it'll go like a little bit of a sort of greenish grey, then go back to the bluish grey. But yeah, that's the sort of artwork in here. Again, if you want to know more, watch my vlog. It's kind of what it's there for, so I'm not just reiterating myself. After that I read Bitch Planet Volume 1 by DeConnick, DeLandro, Wilson, the 4th, Peter and Cowles. So many people. This one is set on a planet where uncontrolled women go. It can be for reasons like murder, but it could also be reasons like hysteria and ego. So like, if you can't deal with the woman, if you can't force her to do what you want and be who you want her to be, send her to Bitch Planet. But then also sports are involved. Another one I really enjoyed. Oh, let's find a picture that doesn't have loads of naked women on. This is the sort of artwork in here. Then I read I Go Quiet by David maybe? This one is more like a picture book, so it's big pictures, not very many words. But another one I really enjoyed. Here's the sort of artwork. If we get rid of the shine, that's the sort of what we're looking for in here. This is going to be like, here's loads of books I read, but also the shortest video ever because I've already talked about them all. Go and watch my vlog. After that I read Revival Volume 1 by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. This one is about a town where the recently deceased come back to life and they don't know why, and they don't know how, and like it's only this specific town, so like what the shit's going on. It's got some really cool visuals in here as well, like for example, right at the beginning, look, a guy is about to get cremated and then he wakes up. So yes, interesting stuff. Then I read Why My Cat Is More Impressive Than Your Baby by The Oatmeal. This is just a fun comic full of silly cat comics. If you've been on the internet for a little while, you probably have seen The Oatmeal. He's also one of the creators of, what's it called? That cat game thing that's also a TV show now. What's it called? Exploding Kittens is also co-creator of that. But yeah, this is just a fun comic about cats and why they're better than babies. And genuinely laughed out loud several times. And then I believe I also read this one in the vlog. I'm not 100% sure, I can't really remember. But I also read Outcast by Kirkman and Azasita. Volume 1, of course. And this one is about demonic possession. And a dude who, a lot of people around him has been demonically possessed throughout his life, and like why are they interested in him and that sort of thing. But also, you know, it's the first volume, so I don't really know what's going on, but it's good. I very much enjoyed all of these. Well, Graveyard Wars was slightly lower than everything else, but everything else I did really enjoy. Here's the artwork in here. Creepy kid. But yeah, again, I've said it multiple times, watch the vlog if you want to know more about these, if you want to hear more of my thoughts and all that, and see how crazy cheap they were at Sapphire. So, we're not halfway through, we're very much past halfway through, but we'll head on over to a message for one of the spawns now, and then I'll be back with some books that I've not talked about yet, so I'll go a little bit more in depth. Hey Ruben! Oh, hi. Getting in the way. Hello, Lily. Months. I was trying to do a lovely video of Rubes. Hi, baby. After that, I finally read United as One by Pittacus Law. This is the last book in the Lorien Legacies series, a series that I started a couple of years ago and have finally got to the end. This is a science fiction series. It's about this alien group of aliens who go to Earth because their planet has been destroyed, and then these other aliens are coming to Earth because they want to take over this one as well. You know what aliens are like? But yeah, really enjoyed this. This is a series that's been around many years. They even made a TV show, I Am Number 4. I mean, a film, not a TV show. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people probably would have already read this series about 10 years ago, but I finally have finished it. And yeah, I really enjoyed this series. I like the way it's written. It's got multiple perspectives, and also within those multiple perspectives they changed the font of the writer, which I think is really interesting. I feel like I've never really seen that in other books. Like the actual font type is changed when it goes to different people, so it's like slightly different, so it also puts you in a different mind of a different person. I think it's a really interesting way of doing it. But yeah, I can't really talk much about this because it's like book 7, I want to say, the last book in a series. But this whole series I've really enjoyed. I like that certain things happen that you don't expect. I like that it's YA but people actually die in it, like unsuspected things happen. It's good because a lot of the time, you know, everyone's got plot armor because it's YA, but I really enjoyed the fact that they didn't in this series. And yeah, it's just like loads of cool powers, all of these different people. It's also a group of people who find themselves together and have to defeat the forces of evil. But yeah, very much enjoyed this one. Glad I finally finished it, and I think the last book ended really well. I think it ended exactly how it should have done, and I liked it. So yes. After that I read Trees Volume 1. This is by Warren Ellis and Jason Howard. This one is a sci-fi series, and it's about 10 years previously. These big massive, they call them trees, but it's like just really tall trunks, aliens, just landed on Earth in several different places, and then nothing happened. And people don't know why, they don't know what's going to happen, they don't know anything about what's going on with this alien stuff. Occasionally, I think like some weird liquid stuff has come out of it and like hurts people, destroys stuff, but there's no rhyme or reason why it happens. And this follows several different people in several different places all around the world near one of these trees, and their different stories and what's going on and stuff. And yeah, I think this one was really interesting. I've had a look, there's only 3 volumes of this, like it's a small story, so I will be very interested to see where it goes from here. It definitely ended on a cliffhanger, especially for one set of people, in fact 2 sets of people, in fact everybody. It's a big old cliffhanger in this series, so yeah, very much looking forward to seeing what is going to go on. I'm kind of bummed though this one, because when I was doing my sci-fi order, volume 2 and 3 were also super cheap when I was buying all of these first volumes of comics. But in my head I was like, no, I've not read it and I'm going to be good and I'm going to not get them in case I don't like it. And now I've read it and I do like it, and they're not there anymore because obviously someone's bought them because they were random secondhand ones. And now I'm like, damn, I wish I'd bought them because they were like a couple of pounds each, and now they're not. So yeah. Sometimes it works out well when you don't buy stuff. Sometimes you should have bought the stuff. But anyway, this is the sort of artwork we're having here. If you want to focus, there you go. Stuff kicking off. Oh, straight away, look. Stuff kicking off. But yes, very much enjoyed this one as well. It's been a really good month. Like everything. I've not read anything that's terrible or even bad or even okay. I read all the things I read. I enjoyed. The lowest rating thing was probably Graveyard Wars, but I enjoyed it. It just wasn't as good as everything else I read. So it's been a great month, which is nice after having 2 slumpy months. Very much enjoy that, because even the stuff that I read in the last 2 months, the few things I did read, most of them were like 3.5 or 3 stars. So very glad I'm out of that slump. But after that, anyway, I read Alex and Ada Volume 1 by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughan. This one is another sci-fi one. So in here we have a world, however far in the future, and there's just a lot of technology, there's a lot of AI. Just for example, Alex is living his everyday life. He's got an implant in his head, so he's like talks to people on the phone via his head. Like very Alexa, walks into the house, lights on, get my food. There's a robot to do his coffee in the morning, all that sort of stuff. And then his grandma, I want to say, decides for his birthday that she's going to give him an AI friend, let's say. And yes, another one I very much enjoyed. This one, the artwork's really clean and really nice, so it's like this super clean artwork, if you understand like what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, this one is really interesting. Obviously it's talking a lot about AI, it's talking about consciousness, it's talking about technology, and like I said, very much enjoyed this one. I feel like this one's only got a few volumes out as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like this is quite a short run. But I might be making that up. But yeah, very happy with all of these comics that I bought for stupidly cheap. After that I read Postal by Matt Hawkins, Brian Hill, Isaac Goodhart and Betsy Gonya. This one is set in a small town where it seems past criminals go and live there, and they're told like, oh, we don't have any crime here, so come work here and don't be a criminal. But then also weird stuff's happening and crimes happening, but secretly underneath, and murder and stuff. I think the back says something of like, there's been no official murder in the past 25 years, but then our main character stumbles upon a murder and it goes from there. In this one, the main character is said to have Asperger's syndrome. I know that's not a thing that people use now. Some people do. If some people have been diagnosed as having Asperger's and they still say that they have Asperger's, I don't think that people should tell them they're not allowed to say that that's what they have. But obviously a lot of people, even medical professionals, now say that Asperger's is not a thing and it's just a part of the umbrella term of autism, but in here it specifically uses that word. But also right at the back it does go into, like, there's a whole bit about Asperger's and how it's called autism now. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that bit out there because I know people don't use that anymore, but it is used in here. But again, at the end there is like a whole double page spread talking about the history of this diagnosis. So yeah, we follow our main character in here and he stumbled upon a murder and then finding out about all of these weird secrets that have been happening in this town. And yeah, again, another one I really enjoyed. Here is the artwork. And I'll just show you this one as well. Like, double page spread talking about it. But yeah, another one that I want to carry on with, like all of the comics I started, which is good and also bad because now I have a lot more series that I have to continue. And then the last thing I read was Black Boys Like Me by Matthew R. Morris. This one I read on my library app. Basically I picked this one up because the buzzword thing, the buzzword word for August was the word like, so Black Boys Like Me. And yeah, this is a bunch, it's non-fiction, it's a bunch of essays by Matthew just about growing up, being black, existing, all that jazz. And this one I feel like it started strong. The middle was a little bit like repetitive a little bit, but then towards the end I really enjoyed it. It made me cry a few times towards the end, so yeah, definitely did what it was meant to be doing. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I feel like the way the essays were written were really easy to digest. I will say, like I mentioned a second ago, in the middle it did feel a little bit repetitive, not in the different essays necessarily, but like say in one essay he's talking about something and then he'll sort of wrap it up, but then he's still talking about the same thing and then he'll wrap it up again, but then he's still talking, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't need to wrap it up because you're still talking about it. It felt a little bit repetitive towards the middle in some of them. But yeah, this is talking about school, it's talking about like media, like a lot of how he presented himself and how he decided to be, was like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and rap music, and he's from Canada but a lot of American influences came in, and yeah, a lot about family relationships and different members of the family going in different directions and stuff. So for example, he was very much into sports, wanting to go the sports direction, and he talks a lot about how black men specifically, like one of the only sort of careers that looks acceptable to them is going into sports. Like you'll do really well in sports but everywhere else you won't. And how his brother went sort of the opposite way into that and was dealing drugs and went to prison and stuff. So it shows like two different sides of the black experience, how different expectations are put on black men and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really interesting. I did really enjoy it, even if a few of the bits in the middle were a little bit slower because of the repetitiveness. But all in all, I think it's definitely a really good non-fiction book and I recommend it if you have not read it already. So yes. And there we go, those are all the things that I read in August. A lot of comics. I enjoy comics. But yeah, let me know down below anything you've read, if any of these sound interesting, just anything there, because that's what it's for. Use it if you want. Do the things if you want, like if you want, comment if you want, subscribe if you want, but only if you want. And I will see you in a few days with another video. Bye.